Hey friends, my name is Megan. I'm one of the leaders here in our not so little Wreck and Roll community now. And I'm going to be doing a two-part video series, this one and then probably one that will maybe come out next week on how to take a new enrollment, how to take care of a new enrollment and get them to be a really consistent on Essential Rewards product user who really comes to me for little to no help at that point. So anyway, I'm out of breath. I just got my dog in from outside. Sorry, like just climbing up the stairs and I'm totally out of breath. So anyway, this video today will be on how to take care of the new enrollment, and then the one next week that we post will be more on getting them onto Essential Rewards and being that consistent product user. So let's get going. I send my new enrollments a welcome email within 24 hours. Sometimes that ends up looking like 48. I try not to go over that line. I like to get it out on the same day, but let's just be realistic. Life is not always going to allow that to happen. I keep those emails super simple. I had originally, when I first started the business, created a pretty lengthy welcome email that detailed out a lot of information. But when I realized that nobody was responding and I followed up with them, I found out that they responded by saying, "Hey, I got the email, but I just didn't get to read the whole thing. I'm so sorry. Is there anything in it that I need to know?" So for me, that was a cue to, okay, this is super long and they just don't have the time to stop and read this. So I went back and I totally shortened the whole thing. I just welcomed them to the community. I tag or CC their sponsor if I will end up stacking them. And then at the bottom, I just say, "Hey, I'm going to tag you in some Facebook posts for when your kit arrives, so be on the lookout for that." And then I also hyperlink the form that has 10 questions on it for them to answer, for me to get to know them a little bit better, as well as for their sponsor to get to know them. And I was typing out the 10 questions in the email, but again, no one was responding. No one wanted to take the time to sit down and type out all their answers. And so I found this website called Typeform, and it allows me to create these questions in totally different formats in a fun, creative, unique way. I get to like choose the colors of things and the format of things, so they have questions, you know, on a short answer or a long answer or multiple choice or a sliding scale. So it just makes it really fun and different and unique for them to be able to answer the questions in different formats that piques their interest and keeps them interested in the questions. And I try to make them super simple and super easy for them to answer. And I've had success with it ever since I changed it to the Typeform. 100% of the people have responded with it. Sometimes if you're a big incentive person, you can send out an incentive in the email and be like, "Hey, fill out this 10 questionnaire in the next couple days and I'll shoot you something in the mail for a fun treat." I haven't done that yet, but it's another great way if you're not getting responses from people. Some of the questions I ask, to give y'all an idea, are: where do you live? Who do you live with? I like to ask for the ages and if there's animals, because obviously Young Living has animal products, and they also have a lot for children. So if they have children, then it's super easy for me to tailor some things to that, especially when I'm looking in Facebook for them. I ask about their vocation, their birthday, to send them treats because that's really fun. What brings them joy? Why do they want to use Young Living products? On the sliding scale, the next question is: rate your interest in owning Young Living as a business. I do this because I was following up with people at some point saying, you know, "Hey, are you ever interested in the business? Let me know." Or, "Hey, we have a Zoom call coming up about Young Living as a business if you're ever interested." And I did get some negative feedback from people of, "I'm not interested in the business and I didn't know when I signed up that I would be contacted about this." So for me, this gets from the start my clarification on, should I follow up with them at some point? Because I've had some people on the scale rate it as a 6 or 7, and then I've had other people as a 0. So it just literally gives me from the get-go information about whether or not I should follow up on that at some point. I asked them for their favorite place to shop, because that's fun to send gift cards around holidays or again for their birthday. What hobby would they get into if time and money were not an issue? Again, another way for you to tailor treats to send to them in the mail. And then I asked them for something on their bucket list. This is a fun question for me because I think a lot of times we forget to dream, and I know that that's a huge thing in this company, is like, let's just dream about where we can go and what we can do and the people that we can serve and help. So my husband and I are huge dreamers. We both each have our own bucket list full of like hundreds of things. So I love asking this one because sometimes you get things that are really simple, and then sometimes you get these big elaborate dreams, which is fun because maybe they are interested in the business one day, and you can say, hey, I know that you had that bucket list dream, and the financial freedom that this can offer you can help you meet that bucket list. Or maybe one day I personally can help them meet that bucket list dream, with whatever it may be. So I like to keep the questions literally all about them, and it helps me figure out the best ways to serve and love them. So moving on, I stack them into the builder if I am stacking them within 5 days. I add them on all social media platforms that they have. I tag them in some starter kit posts on Facebook for when their kit arrives. And then I also have a new member form that I created. We had Heather Delaney was in here several months ago, and she talked about this, and so I just created my own. And for each person that is on my front line that either gets stacked into me or that I enroll and keep on my front line, I create this member information sheet, and I'm passing this along to my builders who also can keep this for themselves and their team. And it just keeps everything in a very concise, cohesive way. Has their member number, their name, who enrolled them, who their sponsor is, has their personal information, address, email, birthday, the date they enrolled, the date that they got on Essential Rewards, if they are on it, the date that they've gone through mentorship, if they're interested in doing the business. And then if they have gone through mentorship, I put their color from the color test, the green, red, yellow, or blue. Sorry about my dog barking. And then I have a little note section to say from the 10 questions, oh, they answered this about animals or whatever. And then I also have a little box next to it if they are doing the business, with each rank listed out, so I can write down the dates that they hit that rank if they are doing the business. So it's just a way for me to keep it all in a binder, to go back and look through time if I need it, or just to have my people's information just so I can remember and know who they are as I go along through this journey. And then the next thing that I do is I mail out a welcome packet. I try to do this within 3 days of their enrollment. Again, time is not always my friend. So if it ends up being within a week, that's fine, because a lot of times their starter kit won't arrive in that first week anyway. My computer's frozen. I was gonna give you what I send out in my welcome packets, but my computer is literally frozen right now. I'm gonna need this in a second. Okay, anyway, I know what I send out in my welcome packets. I just need my notes after this. I send out my business card. I send out diffuser recipes, roller recipes. I send out a dilution guide, how to dilute things. That's a huge question that people ask. I send out 2 rollers with fractionated coconut oil filled. I was telling people, I was sending them links on how to get their own rollers and coconut oil, but that was just really hard for me to ask them to do, and I noticed a lot of people again weren't doing it, and they were waiting, and I really wanted them to be able to have that for when their kit got there to go ahead and make stuff. So I send them pre-diluted rollers that they can just fill with whatever they want once their starter kit arrives. And then I also try to send them a roller with an oil diluted outside of the starter kit. So I usually send out Valor or Peace and Calming. I think that's usually the only rollers that I'll send out, just to get them something that's outside of their starter kit that they can go back to. And then I send out a card that has their account information on it. So it gives them their member number, their name, their PIN number, and I think it has their phone number on it, because a lot of times people will forget that if they're not logging into their virtual office frequently, and then that can hinder them from later getting on Essential Rewards, because they're like, oh, I just don't remember it, sorry. And then, you're just going back and forth, waiting for them to be able to figure that out. So I send them that, and then they can just go ahead and write everything down as it's fresh on their memory. Okay, guys, let's see if I can figure this out. So sorry. I thought that I would be able to get this. Oh well, just gonna have to go on without it. After their enrollment date, I put on the same day that they enroll, I put a notification in my phone to follow up with them on a week after, 7 days after. So this is for following up for when their kit arrives. I usually give it a week. Sometimes it's more than that. But I just put a notification on my phone. I have separate calendars for my personal and for my work. I also own a life coaching business, and so having the separation between personal and work life are huge boundaries and rhythms for me. So I recognized if those two are bleeding together, then I get super stressed and anxious and really overwhelmed, and I just want to quit everything. So I keep it all separate. They're color coded in my calendar according to my coaching business, my oils business, and then my personal life with my family. So I put it in my notification in my calendar to follow up with so-and-so on this day about kit arrival. So then on that 7th day, I shoot them a message with however I was communicating with them from the get-go. And I asked them if their kit's arrived, and if it hasn't, what does it estimate the arrival date is. And then I asked them if they would be willing to hop on a 30-minute Zoom call or FaceTime with me to go over the kit, what's in it, and what its uses are. And I have had every person say yes to this as well, just because they want to be able to know how to use their kit. I can tag them in post, but I like to make that personal connection from the get-go to let them know you're getting your oils this day, and I'm caring about you on this day, to know that we're going to walk through this together. You're not going to be in it alone. And I'm not going to leave you to just go look on Facebook and hope you can figure it out on your own. Like, good luck. I like to make that personal connection with them, and I keep this at 30 minutes. Again, with the boundaries and the rhythms, I've noticed that if I go over the time that I originally state that I'm going to be with them, every time I follow up after that, they're going to think that I am going to take more of their time than I originally said. So if I keep it right at 30 minutes and then they get off and notice it was right at 30 minutes, then each time I follow up after that, I'm creating that relationship where they can trust me to know she's not going to take up more time, or she actually does consistently what she says that she's going to do. So for me, it's more than just being able to give them the uses of their kit. It's, I want you to know that I care about you, and I want you to know that I value your time, and that you can trust me when I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to be consistent in doing it. I have a sheet already documented out of 10 different uses, so I literally just pull that up, go through it, see if they have any questions, and then we're done. And then I ask them afterwards if they would be willing to do 10 days with their premium starter kit. So I will give them a use each day that they can figure out a way to use and incorporate their oils or the Ningxia or whatever it is that they're looking for into their daily life. Every time somebody has said yes, they're like, oh yeah, that'd be perfect. That'd be a great way for me to get to know the use of each oil and have you help me with it. And then we figure out the best way to communicate. So for them, sometimes it's texting. I always mention Voxer first, and that's probably been about like a 75% rate of getting people on Voxer. Some people just don't want to download another app. They're like, well, I just don't really know how to use that. Why don't you just text me? So it's either usually over text or Voxer, and then I find out this is the best way to communicate with you. I'll be sending this, and again, going back to the consistency and the building of the trust, I send it at the same time every day that for those 10 days. I want them to know I'm coming in at the same time. You can count on me to be here at this time. And then I try to do it in the morning most times, just to give them some, they can use the rest of the entire day to be able to use the oil. If I send it at night, then their day's already over and they don't know how to, they usually don't incorporate it, so it just gets complicated that way. So I try to do that on the beginning of the morning for 10 days straight. And then afterwards, I just say, hey, I'll just be following up with you every week for a little bit till you feel like you can figure out how to use this on your own. And then every week, again, I follow up on the same day. I put this in my calendar, and it's like every week for several months I do it, and I usually do an end date. And then I follow up with them every week on the same day. Hey, how's it going? How are your oils? Are you enjoying them? Do you have any questions? A lot of times they're like, things are great, no problem. Sometimes they'll come back and say, hey, I had a question about this oil again. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll try to redirect them to the Facebook groups. So I answer their question, and then I'll go into the Facebook group and I'll tag them in posts regarding whatever it is they have a question about, if it's available. That way I'm redirecting them to say, this is a great place to search. This is how we do it. This is where you can get all this information. So I'm starting to kind of shift that momentum to off of me into them being the product user on their own. And then from there comes the essential rewards after a month, which will be the video that we come up with next week. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, shoot them in the comments, and then be on the lookout for the video next week on how to try to get somebody on Essential Rewards.